Okay, stay-at-home Sallies, we are locked down in Perth. So I thought I'd do what I did last lockdown, do it in my backyard. Now, lockdown meals at home, oh, this is my house, this is our house. So you're going to see a lot more of this because of what's happening. This is a lovely feature here. It's actually a very noxious weed that I'm about to pull out, but it looks lovely, so I thought I'd leave it in for the shot, just for today. I might even let it get a little bit higher. Don't know, we'll see how we go. So, I am going to cook some stuff today that I don't recommend you actually cook in the bush. In fact, look, I'll explain what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to light a fire because sun's going down. This is going to take a while, and I want to get this thing roaring. So, as you're very well aware, I usually do adventure cooking. Fire to fork adventure cooking. Simple. There's no adventuring going on right now, we're in lockdown. So I'm going to stick with the fire to fork and we'll just gloss over the adventure cooking bit. I want to show you guys how to make really, really cool stuff in your backyard with fire. This is, think backyard barbecue, just actually enjoying cooking. Don't stress, don't rush, don't worry about anything. Let's get into it. First, beer. Colonial IPA, my favorite beer. Thank you very much for the support, guys. And I'm going to use one of these cups. I've actually been using them for a while and I wanted to bash them over the head and see how good they were before I... Oh. Looked at the camera. Oh, that was a terrible pour. I'm sorry, that was embarrassing. I wanted to bash them over the head and see if they were actually good before I started talking about them, but these are the front runner cups that I got. I'll put a link down, I'll put a link in my gear page to them. They're really good. Like, I honestly reckon they insulate as well as my Yeti stuff. So, but for a fraction of the cost. So yeah, very impressed. But yeah, and they fit a beer pretty much perfectly. So that's good. Oh, and they've got a lid. So it kind of looks like a keep cup. So if you want to like go into a Coles with a beer, you could probably get away with it, to be honest. All right, I'll stop blabbering and start cooking. The first thing we want to do is get these spuds on. So I'm just going to peel them. I'm using red potatoes because red potatoes are a little bit less soft. And while we do want soft, we also want some sort of structural rigidity later on once we've parboiled these. Just so that they still look like, basically we're trying not to make mashed potatoes, we're trying to make roast potatoes. And it's very easy to turn a soft potato into a mashed potato. Tell you what, one of the things I really missed up in Broome, jarrah. That wood is just like heaven. It is hot, clean, smells amazing. It imparts beautiful flavour into wood, sorry, into meat. It's just, honestly, so good. So good. What I might do actually is preheat some water while I'm sitting here peeling. Now, if you're at home, you can, of course, just whack this on the stove. And I'd probably recommend it, but our house is not moved into. Like, there are boxes everywhere, like, there's not a spare surface in there. I actually find it easier to cook out here than in there. Oh, so I'm just adding about 2 tablespoons of salt to this water. I honestly prefer to cook out here, just because it is such a train wreck inside. Anyone who's moved house, you know what I'm going through. We got our stuff delivered yesterday. No, day before yesterday. So I've had half a day of unpacking, which is not enough. That fire is cranking. Potentially too much. I might move this over a bit. Probably safer. Now, I'm just gonna quarter these spuds.
How's the serenity?
Actually, I'll probably do them into sixths, just because that's sort of the size of the roast potatoes I want at the end. Maybe 8 since the bigger ones. I'd like to do this with my Prado, so I can sort of semi-use the back and at least a little bit feel like I'm camping, but there's no room in the carport. Because I'm locked down, I can't even like drop my trailer off at my mate's house where I'd usually keep it. So the trailer's filled up the carport, and I don't know, in the future we might be able to do one in there, but for now it is courtyard cooking. Oh, that is too hot. I'm gonna go and get a glove. Oh good, found a rag. Probably overdid that wood. I'm not used to this. Not used to cooking with jarrah now. It's just burns so hot and so fast and so well. Creates the best bed of coals. So this table is actually all stainless. So I'm not too worried about the edge of the table melting. I'm worried about the plastic stuff that's on it. So even those black bits are just powder coated stainless. As always, links to all the gear I'm using will be in the description below. This is my compost bucket, because I'm at home. If I was in the bush, I would throw this in the fire, because compost just goes to landfill. This organic material is no problem to chuck in the fire, otherwise it just goes into landfill. All right, leek. Now, leeks are kind of misunderstood. They are basically just a big onion. And we all know what caramelized onion's like. It's freaking delicious. So don't be afraid of leeks. Do wash leeks. They fill up with a bit of crap in the middle. So I'm going to cut this guy in half. If you look at that, there's so much crap in there. And then I'm going to cut, I might cut a bit more of those leaves off. I don't need all of it. And probably in half again. And go and wash it. Old Faithful. Haven't even checked if it's clean. Yeah, it's clean. I keep a whole bunch of stuff in here. It's like funnels and a sponge and a rag and stuff. Just otherwise it's dead space in the middle. So just put stuff in there that you can't damage. Bit of rust on the bottom. I'll quickly take care of that. So the way I take care of that little bit of rust, by the way, is I'm just going to grab this scoury sponge. If you look inside, it looks like that. You're going to put a bit of water in there, quick scrub, basically till it turns black or silver, and that's enough. All right, so that is now silver in the bottom. Now, yeah, I obviously the seasoning has come off doing something or other. I'm pretty careless with my seasoning, which is pretty bad. Like I'm great with woks, I'm just terrible with camp ovens. And also spun steel camp ovens don't hold seasoning quite as well as cast iron. I'm actually gonna do a whole video on it, but that's what it looks like now. And that is perfectly good for the leek. So we want to braise this leek. Now what is braising? Braising is cooking with a combination of liquid and dry heat. So, big knob of butter in there. Probably put in 50 grams. It's going to be a recurring theme in this recipe. Big knobs of butter. Okay. Oh. About half a cup of chicken stock. You can obviously use stock cubes, but fancy boys at home. A little bit of salt. why do I have a giant thing of salt? Salt grinder's empty, and I can't, including the inside one. So yeah, that's why I have it. Pepper grinder, bit of pepper. And so if you look at it, they should be about half covered. They look like they're ready to go. Lid on, and then I don't want this on this much heat, so I'm going to put it, I want a decent amount, but not as much as these spuds. So hot. I'm going to go and get my welding gloves out of my car in a second. Much better with welding gloves. Drop that right down. Makes the heat a lot easier to manage. All right, see you in a bit.
Few tins later.
Okay, it's been about 3/4 of a beer. It's about 10 minutes. Now, I've taken the lid off these leeks because I was realizing that otherwise there's going to be just too much liquid. So they're looking good. They're really nice and soft after about 10 minutes of sort of boiling away in that liquid. So I'm probably just going to take them off, and I'm going to put them in my freezer. And spuds, yeah, so the spuds are falling apart now. So I'm actually going to do exactly the same with them. So that was only about 10, maybe 15 minutes at best to do those. So that's not too bad. But the chilling process is where it takes a bit of time, of course. So you want to get these things down to kind of fridge cold. Now, if you have all day, put them in the fridge. I don't. I want to have these for dinner, and it's only the afternoon, so I'm going to put them in the freezer to expedite that process. So I'm just going to pour the water out of these, trying not to spill the water on my feet. Might do it in the garden bed behind me. Water my basil. Then what you want to do is give them a bit of a shake. And that is going to give you something that looks like this. You see that? It's all broken up. All those broken up bits are just going to become little crispy bits. So that is going to, I want it to dry out, so I'm going to leave the lid off it. Lid off. In your freezer. I'm going to put a tea towel underneath it because it's still bloody hot, and I'm worried it's actually going to like melt one of my freezer drawers. All right, so I'll put that away now, and I'm going to go and get something to put that in. Okay, got my little tray here. Grab the leeks. So what we want these to actually harden up a bit. They're entirely floppy now, so we want them to sort of almost feel like a fresh leek. Oh my God, that smell! That smell is insane. It just hit the grill and started to caramelize, and it smells incredible. I'm actually so excited about these. These are an unsung hero. Leeks are so underrated. I don't need a welding glove. These are cold. Put them in the freezer as well. Now, if you're wondering why my freezer is so empty, it's because we still haven't unpacked this big Snowmaster and the little angle. So the angles we're using as a freezer, and the Snowmaster we're using as a fridge at the moment. And there are like 3 things in our brand new house fridge. Anyway, that's got a couple of hours, so I'm going to go and sit back, have a beer, and enjoy some serenity.
So much serenity.
And probably clean this pot too. Woo, look at it go.
A few
More tins
later.
Okay, my potatoes are cold. So it's been about 2-ish hours. What I'm going to do, dump them all. They're also dry. Now, being dry, I've banged on about this so many times in the past about dry potatoes are crispier potatoes. So, get all that out. It's a little bit more mashy than I'd perhaps like, but honestly, it'll still be great. Now, we are essentially gonna shallow fry these. So, I'm gonna put half a cup of oil in there. You can use olive oil if you want. I generally try not to. Well, like, the thing is, olive oil creates a good flavor, so it's not the end of the world. And I've got a bit of melted butter here, so I'm gonna grab some of that clarified butter off the top to give it a sort of nice, nutty, buttery taste. I don't have that much butter just for this, it's for the béarnaise as well. So, look, I'm just gonna chuck some nice rock salt in. This rock salt is, oh, I stole it. It's from a salt lake down south. And I didn't think the salt lake would miss a kilo of, oh, who am I kidding, like 4 kilos of salt, but which equates to a mound about this big on a salt lake you can't see the ends of, so I didn't think it was the end of the world. I like chucking a little pepper on. If you look at that, there's quite a lot of oil in here, so yeah, don't be scared of the oil. I'm going to chuck this on my tripod. You obviously don't have to use a tripod. This is just how I like to do this more kind of delicate stuff, where heat sensitivity is quite a big thing here. I want a lot of heat, but it needs to be quite even. So what I'm going to do is wrap that guy around there, back up to the top, a bit lower. Maybe lower again. Yeah, that's about right. Now, I want about 30% heat underneath and about 70% on top. So, grab a few bits of this wood. Should really have brought a shovel, but I'll be right. Good welding gloves are good. Oh, I've actually added these good welding gloves to my gear list now. Link to all the gear I'm using below in the description, or just Google fire to fork gear and it'll come up. That's not quite enough heat yet, so what I'm going to do is just chuck some nice small sticks up here, and this is going to create a good sort of self-sustaining fire to an extent. Like, it's going to generate quite a lot of its own heat. So a few small sticks, and then it'll create its own coals, and etc, etc. And these potatoes are probably going to take an hour-ish. So, go on, get in there. So no real rush. Again, it's about 7 o'clock now. 7:01. So I'll probably come back in about half an hour, check on the potatoes, and start doing my béarnaise. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited. Oh, now one thing I wanted to quickly mention is, look, I've started a Patreon, so I've kind of got a limited amount of time to turn this business into a properly sustainable business and be able to pay the mortgage and be able to do all that adult stuff that I should be able to do. I'm pretty close. I think if I can get a few people on Patreon, that will kind of bring me up to somewhere where it is sustainable, where it is a fully sustained business, and that would be amazing. It'll also let me do more, let me cook more, and let me basically not have to, you know, do as much stuff for big corporates, which I do now. I don't let it encroach too much into the videos. You won't see me plugging a whole bunch of gear. You won't see me doing all that kind of stuff. Patreon allows me to keep this pretty pure. Absolutely, I do work with companies. I have to work with companies, otherwise I would make no money at all. But I work with only a very small number of companies. I get approached by tons every week, and I turn most of them down. There's a reason that there are no VPN ads and that sort of stuff on this channel, and that is because I turn them down, and it hurts to do so because I could chuck 1 or 2 ads in every video, and I wouldn't have to bother with all this messy Patreon stuff and all the other stuff. But I also don't think that the content would be nearly as good, so that's why I do it. Anyway, I'll shut up about that. I'm going to leave that alone and go and relax for a bit. Oh, and by the way, with Patreon, yes, Sam is in the behind the scenes videos. So if you want to see more Sam, jump on Patreon. More tins.
later.
I'm nervous. I'm going to bring you along the ride. I've never cooked this before. I am making a béarnaise sauce. Now, béarnaise sauce, if you haven't had it, it's pretty much the ultimate steak sauce. I've never had one I like more. So, what it requires is a good glug of wine for me, 1 chopped shallot, or if you're in America, a shallot. Don't know why. Oh God, that was, I'm ballsing up chopping the shallot. This is not a good start at all, at all. Okay, so with that I need 100 mils of white wine vinegar, 200 mils of white wine. You'll have to guess because my thing only goes up to 250. Oh. Ah, that's probably why that didn't work. Yeah. Yes, I'm absolutely killing it at this stage. Now, I can heat that up a little bit. I'll chuck the shallots in here. And then I do have one more ingredient here. You can use the dried version of this, tarragon, but if you have access to fresh, I went excessively out of my way to get this. I drove to a supermarket to do my whole shop that was a long way away just because I knew I'd be able to get fresh tarragon. So you want about 4 tablespoons-ish, so probably 1/4 cup, I guess, of this beautiful fresh tarragon. Now, this actually takes a bit of time. You're going to put that in there. Oh, it smells quite sort of aniseedy and fennelly. Pour that in there, and then I'm going to put it on the heat. Not tons of heat, but some heat. And what we want is to stir this around until basically it's reduced so much that there's only about 2 tablespoons of liquid in there. Okay, I'm going to quickly check these spuds, see how they're doing. The sauce has been on for about 15 minutes. It's pretty reduced. It's bloody nearly there. So I just want to check, oh shit, check these before I do the final touches. Whew. Welding gloves are definitely not foolproof. So if I have a quick look in here, they are browning. See, they're browning a little bit there, but definitely not done. So it's perfect because I haven't done the steak, I haven't done the rest of the sauce. Got plenty of time to go. That's done. Keep an eye on that. Bloody hell. There is next to no liquid left in there, and I've actually burnt a little bit of a corner of it. That's okay. That is totally fine, actually. I'll explain. Okay, I need to let that cool. And actually it needs a touch, just a touch of liquid in there. So I'm going to put a little bit of water in there. Just to deglaze that pan. This is a sauce pan. Sauce pans are designed for sauces. And that means you want all this, all that darkness on the bottom, all that loveliness, that is great. I'm all about that. So don't think for a second that that's a bad thing. Oh, it smells very vinegary at this stage, but don't worry, that should thicken up. I say don't worry, like I've done this before, I haven't. Okay, so let's work on this béarnaise. The next stage is you want to let this pan cool down. So I can just touch that, which is about right, apparently. Drop your eggs in. That's 4 egg yolks and about a tablespoon of water. And this is, I'm gonna get this light sorted out, sorry. Sorry about that, I just want you to be able to see it on the GoPro. Okay. So, what we want to do apparently is whisk this all up till it becomes fluffy. Then I'm going to spoon in some butter. This is melted butter, so what I'm doing is I'm getting the stuff off the top, which doesn't have the milk solids in it. And that is known as clarified butter. You can use ghee, you can just use normal soft butter, to be completely honest. But apparently this is better without the milk solids. And this is going to take a while. I'm going to slowly add the butter and just keep stirring and keep stirring and keep stirring. Now, that's gone cold, so I need to just give it enough heat that you can like touch the bottom of it. So I'm just gonna put it on and off this heat here. You should be able to just not touch the bottom apparently. And usually we do this over a steam bath, but I just don't have the stuff, to be completely honest. What do they call it? An offset boiler. I can't remember what they're called. That thing that, yeah. Now, if it gets too hot and you stop stirring, it will turn into scrambled eggs. And you do not want scrambled eggs. Oh my God. I just tried some of that. That's biblical. So decadent. So, hardest bit about this is afterwards it will try and separate. You want to try and not keep it hot. What you can do is you can chuck it in your fridge, and even if it has separated a little bit, it's still not dangerous to eat or anything. Use it like butter on toast, and then add your meat and stuff. Like, honestly, a steak sandwich with béarnaise sauce. That's ridiculous. That's just, it's dirty. It's so good. It's like, oh. Okay, so ground. You want a kind of a finer ground pepper in here, bit of salt. Again, finer ground salt. This should be a smooth, creamy sauce. That consistency is just perfect. So you look at it sort of, it's like halfway between your average sauce and like scrambled eggs. That's pretty thick. Jeez, That's unbelievable. That's so good. Okay, I'm just gonna put that aside. We're just here. And I reckon we're not too far off with that, so let's do the steaks, which means I'm going to build up that fire really quickly. Now, if you want to build up a good fire to cook, the best and quickest and just overall best way to do it is small sticks, size of about 3 or 4 fingers, chuck them on, and then lots of airflow through there, lots of gaps between them, and they will create a lot of heat and a lot of coals very quickly. If you put this on, it'll smoke for ages, or even worse, put that on, it'll smoke for ages and won't do anything. So take your time, cut your wood, and you'll get a much, much better result. Ooh. All right, so as you can see, that took about as long as it took me to go and get a beer and some steak to do that. Now that's a cranking fire right now. So I'm absolutely stoked with that. Pun intended. Okay. Middle setting, I reckon. Basically you want it just enough to like clear the wood. Oh, actually, I'm interrupting this video to tell you about a bloody exciting competition I'm running. So, from the date of this video, there are going to be 4 competitions drawn over 4 weeks. They're photo competitions about fire cooking. We have some killer prizes coming up for these. So Osprey has jumped on board and they've said they're going to provide 4 major prizes and 4 runner-up prizes. Now, the prizes are, first prize is a pit braai, which is one of those fire pits like I was just using in that video. The other ones are a camp braai, which you've seen me use so many different times before, the cleaver, and the chef knife. Now, all 4 of those are the first prize. You get all 4. Then, runner-up gets the cleaver and the chef knife. That's a bloody good package. That's a seriously good haul. So, each week is going to have a theme. The theme of the first week is going to be meat. So I want to see your best fire-cooked meat photos. There's going to be an email address, which haven't actually set up yet, but it's going to be on the screen. It's going to be on Instagram, it's going to be on Facebook, and I'll put a post on YouTube as well. So, send in your things. Next week, I will put up a post on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to tell you what next week's theme is, and you can enter as many times as you want. The only rules are the food must be cooked on fire, and that you must be in Australia for us to ship you these prizes. So, get in it. Get creative, good luck, and I'll let you know in the next video the winners will be shown. Cheers. Can't decide which one I'm more excited about. This bit of Wagyu or that Béarnaise sauce, and that's saying something. This is 9 grade sirloin. Look at that marbling. This is ridiculous. This is the most extravagant bit of meat I've ever bought. I have a mate, shout out J-Wall and Dolphin, 2 mates, and they got me wholesale price on this just fantastic bit of meat, and I do not want to screw it up. So, I'm going to cut off one huge steak, because I want leftovers, basically. Oh my word. That marbling. There's a bit of sinew there, but that's insane. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, well done, mate. You were not screwing around. So I saw this at a shop today for $190 a kilo, and I paid about 1/3 of that. So yeah, wow. Granted, that shop is renowned for marking things up massively. So that's definitely not indicative of what the farmers get. It's just goes to show what a very high-end retail place can charge. Okay, a lot of rock salt on it. So this is kind of 3 fingers thick, so 1 inch and a bit. Way too much for me, but I want Sam's inside, but very happy to have leftovers. Now pull your pepper grinder out. They should have a couple of settings, and that will give you coarser grind. Lots of pepper. Oh, I am salivating looking at this. Now, with Wagyu, it's a little bit weird. Because there's so much fat, you need to cook it a little bit more gently and a little bit more than normal steak. Otherwise, you end up just eating a lot of raw fat. Some people might argue with me. Now, I like a rare to medium rare steak, so I'll probably cook this one between medium and medium rare. So kind of half a step up from where you would usually be. Now I just need to find my grill. Who the hell loses a grill? Found it. So, first few seconds, or first few minutes, I'm going to put it on the least hot part of the fire. Over in the corner here. This is kind of a dodgy reverse sear. So usually with a reverse sear, you would have it in like a Weber or something, and you'd have one side really cool, or one side with no heat, just convection heat coming over the top, and you would slowly cook on one side, and then you move it over to the other side for the full blasting. If you're at home and you have an oven, you chuck it in the oven until the internal temperature is about 53 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, I'll put it here. And you do the same thing. So you get the internal temperature done, and then you put it right there on those flames, and you blast the hell out of it. And that will give you that beautiful outside sear. So, oh, there's so much fat. I'm just like greasing the grill there. Okay. Now this is the opposite to a lot of steaks you get, where I say chuck them in the freezer first. This one you actually want to be at room temperature. Do as I say, not as I do. I did not put this one at room temperature, it's just normal. So yeah, I'm trying to keep the heat right off it for now. I'm just going to rearrange this a little bit. Push the heat actually over to one side. It's going to make my life a lot easier. Okay, so I'm a moron. I completely forgot about the leek. So that is semi-frozen. I think it'll be fine. We just need to heat it up inside and char it a little bit, and it'll be great. But yeah, totally dropped the ball on that one. Totally fixable, but definitely dropped the ball. Just gonna own it. All right, so this is at basically 30 degrees internal. I am going to probably just crank this fire up a bit so that it's really hot on this side, and then we'll start searing in a second. I reckon 35 internal, and we'll sear. That's going to smoke for a second, then it's going to go nuts. Looks good enough to me. Spread these out a little bit, get a bit of char on them. Want these to be done a few seconds. Oh, actually no, these can be done a few seconds after the steak, because the steak's going to have to rest afterwards, of course. So I put that on at 34. I'm aiming for 55 internal after resting. Look at that crust. Beautiful. Oh, smell is just insane. The fat dripping down is actually flaming the fire. So look at that. Rested for a few minutes. Let's just test it. Don't want to cover it all the way through in case it's not right. Oh, that's perfect. Look at that. Look at the juice. Oh, okay. That is like cutting through butter. This is the way I like to do these Wagyu steaks, is cut them up into strips and then pour the sauce over them. Especially when you've got a steak that's too big for one person like this one. I mean, look, I could probably eat it, but it wouldn't be good for me. And I wouldn't enjoy the last third of it. It'd be a challenge, not a pleasure. That's not how steak should be in my mind. I apologise, I clearly got too excited while plating up. Hope you enjoyed the gratuitous B-roll. Oh. That's everything I wanted. Potatoes are crispy. Oh. Béarnaise sauce is just perfection. The steak is melt in your mouth. Oh, that steak! Oh! Don't get me wrong, I can't afford to eat this, but man, when you do, oh, those leeks are delicious. Chicken stock comes through so well in them. Probably wouldn't put quite as much salt in. The recipe down below will be adjusted. Oh. Yep. Well, that's the best steak and potatoes I've ever made. So, I highly recommend you give it a go. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to support the channel, the links to all the stuff I've used down below, there's a Patreon, all that kind of stuff. If you don't, no worries, just keep watching, keep giving me a thumbs up. If you can, turn your ad blockers off, it all helps. Thanks so much, cheers, bye. You want to try something?
Yeah. Is that all you cooked?
Fuck no.